Second down, he'll throw it again. Pressure got there. He's going to go deep ball down the sideline again. Oh, man, did he drop it in? Good night!
Day by day, we get better and better. We get better and better. So we can't beat B. So we can't beat B. Won't beat B. Won't beat B.
Week 1 opened up with a win. You saw that pass from Raiola to Nair. Wasn't my favorite pass of his of the day, but it probably was the most beautiful one. And we'll get into it. He played amazing. The whole team did. A lot different from last year's opening game, right?
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota. I mean, night and day.
Offense. I mean, last year's game, the biggest play was a gimmicky, pitch back and then throw, or fumble, then throw to an open
that was
receiver.
Messy. We should have shown that clip to start. Yeah, the backwards pass, fumble, pass to the end zone. But that's over with. That is done with. 2023 is gone. 2024 is here. And after watching 60 Minutes against UTEP, I know it's UTEP, group of 5 team, but what we didn't do was we didn't struggle. And that's why I'm so excited. And honestly, I mean, we'll still see what happens with Colorado this year, but that 60 minutes was, it might change my perspective a little bit on this team.
Tone setter.
Yeah. So we'll get into that. We're going to get into UTEP recap. We'll look at Colorado, some keys, prediction. I think we got some interesting statistics to kind of point out. In one game is a small sample size, but I think there's some interesting things that happen in that UTEP game that bodes well for the Huskers. So let's get into it. What were your thoughts? Just big picture thoughts on the game from Saturday.
Well, first of all, okay, so I gotta tell a little story. I had recorded the game. I had some friends invite us to go to the lake up here in Washington, Olympic Peninsula. Beautiful, crystal clear lake. I couldn't pass it up. It's like 70 degrees, and here that's the peak of summer. So we go to the lake. I record it, and then the stupid Penn State West Virginia game goes into a weather delay. I recorded FS2, I think, just thinking, okay, in case something happens, maybe they'll toss it over to FS2.
Yeah.
They toss it to FS1. So I get home, my wife and I watch the first quarter, and then we lost everything. And so I had to resort to YouTube highlights the rest of the day, highlights. But then I did record it the next day. It replayed on FS1, so I got to watch it all again.
You got to see it.
So I kind of lost that excitement first game feel, sit down and just watch it live. That's not happening with Colorado. I will be glued to the TV. So
yeah, second quarter was the big quarter. They scored 23 in that quarter. Huge. I mean, think about this, Andrew. Nebraska scored 10 points in the first game last year against Minnesota. They scored 14 points in the second game against Colorado. So 24 points in the first 2 games. They scored 23 points in the second quarter.
Yeah, that was like our average per game last year.
Yeah, and we can't go on. We cannot continue the episode here without. We're 3 minutes in. You predicted a safety of all things. And by golly, they got a safety in the second quarter. Yeah. I texted you. I texted Andrew. I knew he was at the lake. I knew he wasn't watching. I said, I know you're not watching, but I want you to know they got your safety.
Yeah. So more bold predictions coming. And if it comes to fruition this week, we're buying lottery tickets. So
playoffs and lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But okay, thoughts on the game just from what I watched. Obviously, very impressed. You're right; it cut out like at 7-7, and then I found it. We actually got to watch the final quarter and a half after the rain delay. I turned it on, it's like 30-7. What happened here? But Dylan looked solid. I was struck by Dylan's poise. I mean, even coming out of the tunnel, the swag that he had.
He was jazzed up.
Yeah, I mean, he was everything we thought he'd be, but you could easily tell yourself in your mind, this is, he's going to have a freshman start. He's going to have a Joe Daly type of start. If you remember Joe Daly kind of stumbling on.
I lived on Harper 10 with Joe Daly.
Yeah.
He was never there.
coaching.
Not surprising, but
yeah, I mean, it was everything you could want. The defense playing quarter and a half, 2 quarters.
Yep.
The starters didn't think they'd get pulled that quickly, but it was impressive.
I think when you think about the offense they're going to play this week, and while it's a big play offense, quick strike offense, you want them to be fresh. And so, yeah, just playing basically a half. Well, I mean, the amount of the time of possession UTEP has was so minimal. Would they have the ball for like 23 minutes? I don't have the stats in front of me, but didn't have the ball that much. So the defense,
21 minutes. Yeah.
There you go. 21 minutes. They should be pretty fresh. What impressed me most about the beginning of the game is that you said it set the tone for the season, because they had I think it was a 12 play, 72, 73 yard drive, over 5 minutes and 50 seconds to start the year.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the first quarter lasted almost an hour. I looked at my wife and I said, I don't think this game is ever going to end. But I don't think any of us wanted it to end, because we hadn't seen Nebraska do that against a non-conference opponent. Heck, any opponent. The last time they did that was Northwestern, right? In 2021, I think they blew out Northwestern, but they just put it all together. It's like they did what you expected, or at least hoped they would do.
Yeah. And there wasn't, I was thinking about this the other day, there wasn't much adversity, but I think it was promising to see, UTEP punch back. They're jumping on the sideline. Their coach is dancing with them. That's a moment where in the past, and we've seen that with, Georgia Southern, and where teams, they create their own energy like that. And we tend to just kind of drop our jaws and just like, oh no, what are we going to do? North Dakota, in Frost's final year we responded. That definitely pleased to just see they're like, hey, we're not messing around with this. Like,
agree.
We'll go put up 23 straight. So
agree. And I will say, I don't want us to fumble anymore, but I'm cool with them fumbling inside the 5-yard line, because I trust our defense. I'm like, hey, that's taking it to the next level, right? Like last year, they didn't generate a ton of points, didn't generate a ton of turnovers, but that's taking it to the next level. They got 2 picks, which you had also predicted, by the way. And they scored. 2 points is 2 points. It changed. That moment for me changed the game. And then that was the next drive was when Raiola threw that pass to Nair for the touchdown. Yeah,
because that fumble could have easily resulted in 3-4 plays.
Here we go again. Oh me, oh my!
It's like Husker Nation's booing. It's so
yeah. So let's talk about the defense really quick. I think we can get to Raiola again. I love the run game. I think you have a lot of thoughts there, but I found this statistic really interesting. You could just Google like college football advanced stats. So if you're listening, you're like, how do you find these? Just Google that. You'll find it. There's this really interesting statistic called a havoc rate, which is basically like negative plays. Nebraska generated negative plays on 27% of the snaps for UTEP. That's super good. Now it's a 1-game sample size. I think last year, like Michigan, was in that 25% range. But I did hear today, I think it was from Sean Callahan, Nebraska didn't blitz once for the whole game. And that's funny because before I heard that earlier today, I was thinking about the game. I was like, I don't think Nebraska blitzed that whole game, but 27% of the time they produced a negative play. So that's havoc rate, which is really incredible when you think about it. I think we'll talk about what they're going to do against Colorado, but that's a really good sign that you can generate that many negative plays and not blitz all day long.
Yeah.
What do you think about the defense?
Yeah, just the push up front. I think size, like Ty Robinson looks massive to me this year.
He does.
Compared to last year. And you see him just bully through guys. You saw Gabe Irvin run over, I think he ran over a blocker and the defender to get into the end zone on his run. So just the physicality, I think they kept saying, I don't know, I was kind of annoying, but the red swarm on TV, they said there's that red swarm, but they really do. Yep. They all just converge on the ball carrier. They seem physical. They seem like they're taking pride in laying some licks on people. So,
with all due respect to Nash, like Ty makes Nash look small.
He does.
And I'm like, how does that even happen? So,
Yep. Big year out of him. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I was really encouraged. Again, I thought I put this on Twitter earlier this week. I thought the game plan for the defense was really vanilla. They knew, I think, we're just going to line up against them and we could do our base stuff and we're going to win. I get it's UTEP. I know that's people, the negative Nancy's on Twitter are like, oh, it's just UTEP, yada, yada, yada. Well, yes. Nebraska kept UTEP to 200 yards of offense. They had 500 yards of offense.
Yeah.
They won by 33 points. They were favored by 28, 29, somewhere in that neighborhood, 28 and a half. They did what they were supposed to do. So let's not complain. Let's actually enjoy something nice for once. Don't complain.
They met the assignment. Let's not make apologies for playing a low-level team. We just handle business and on to the next.
All right, offense. You talked about Dylan's poise. Watching him now for real in a legit game, how do you feel going forward?
I feel better than I did. I think there was some unknown. I watched a lot of high school highlights, obviously. And it's not that he played a tough opponent, but that's a tough environment to come out in your first game. You got everything, the weight of Husker Nation on your shoulders. Not to mention Hawaii and everywhere else he's been.
Yep.
Just handling that and then stepping up. Big Ten Freshman of the Week. He looks like he's got great chemistry with his guys. And I think the biggest thing is we knew the arm talent was there, all of that, but all offseason you heard, how's he going to handle pressure? How's he going to handle scheme? How's the mindset going to be? And he appears obviously very intelligent, changing plays at the line, all of that.
100%.
So,
there's been a lot of talk about that play where he checked 3 times into the run. And I think Rule said I can't remember exactly the order, but it was a run. He checked out and then checked back. He's doing that himself.
Yeah.
The head communication goes out at 15 seconds, the helmet communication, sorry. So I think he snapped the ball at like 3 or 2 on that play. I'd have to go back and check. So if you're listening and you're watching and you think I'm dead wrong, let me know. I'm open to criticism, believe me. So, but I think that he was doing a lot of that after the communication went out and boom, 42-yard run.
Yeah.
That's a true freshman doing that.
Yeah. He obviously, it's not like it went for 6, he read that thing, like here's the opportunity in it.
Yep.
It produced. So yeah.
And I agree. Like, his arm strength's one thing, and he didn't make every throw wasn't perfect. There was actually, I think, 1 or 2 passes that should have been picked. Maybe if they play a better team, they are picked. I don't know. The reality is there were no interceptions today or on Saturday. And what he did now was put stuff on film that's not in high school. And I think as Colorado is watching film this week, they're looking at him thinking,
he's a threat.
He's a threat. He's as good as what we got.
Yep.
And I think that should, that it will give them some things to think about.
Colorado fans might be thinking that. I doubt his pops is thinking.
Probably not. Probably not. I think what I loved was he threw guys open.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the coin, I haven't seen Nebraska receivers run themselves open as often as these guys did. There was a play, I can't remember what play, we were going right to left, but Raiola hit, I think Nair or Banks kind of in the middle of a soft zone. Well, Fedoni was wide open, probably 10 to 12 yards behind the receiver. I'm like, well, he was open too. He had multiple choices. These guys ran themselves open. They found the spots in the zone, and Dylan hit him. Like, when was the last time we could say we had a quarterback that could hit guys between the numbers? So it just all seemed to click. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to play Big Ten defenses, obviously, and there's going to be tough games. I still think Illinois or something they're going to stub their toe, but what we have as an offense, I think that can keep pace if you get into a shootout, you got an offense that can score.
Yeah, which is just look at last year. It's clearly if the defense matches last year, which they have every ability to be better, that offense steps up the way it has so far.
100%.
Yeah, it's got to.
We didn't miss a kick. How about that?
No,
didn't miss a kick. We kicked the ball out of bounds. I'll forgive him for that. But we didn't miss a kick. The return game impressed me. I think we had probably a quarter of our punt return yards that we had last year in one game. So that was impressive. I don't want to forget about that.
And they've
picked hidden yards, and we need them.
Yeah, IGC on punts and Barney. Barney's going to let one loose. He just seems like he's got a knack for finding that. Even if his aren't massive, but he was finding 10 yards, which is a big improvement, and he gets to kind of that second level.
Yep.
Get to that third level, and he might be gone. So
yeah. I think Barney's going to return one or two at some point this year. All right, let's turn the page. Good game against a group of 5 opponent. I'll tell you what we didn't do. We didn't struggle with an FCS opponent this week.
Right.
There were a handful of schools that did, and Colorado was one of them. I know it's North Dakota State, history, national championships, all that. But for goodness sakes, you're playing at home at night let's be honest, North Dakota State is not what they were when they had Coach Bowl, when they had Kleiman. They're a different team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they posed as much of a threat as they would have a few years ago, but they hung with Colorado. North Dakota State put up almost 500 yards of offense. They gave up 500, but they didn't give up a ton of points. And so I watched that game and I was thinking, this Colorado team is the same as last year. That's what I went away with. I watched the whole game. I was like, you're the same team.
Yep.
I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, same team. I can't say, and I watched a lot of Colorado last year. I can't say that defense looked that much improved. Again, it was a little bit of it's funny when we say that, and they're a completely different team. Like,
right?
Individually, names on jerseys are completely different. So
50 new guys, and yet they looked exactly the same.
Yeah, new coaches, all of that. So, I didn't think that they got a real impressive push. Obviously, North Dakota State was pretty balanced in the game, 157 yards rushing, like for an FCS school. Like, You see that, and you kind of start thinking, can Nebraska double that on Colorado?
Oh my gosh!
And it's going to really be. We'll get to how this game plays out, but you definitely see opportunities there, whether it's in the run game, even passing. They threw for almost 300 yards against them. So
this is important to me. Question for you. Do you think so Dante Dowdell fumbled, right? He's the one that fumbled. He didn't come back in the game, which I thought was significant. I thought it was important. I know there were people who were saying, he put him back in. He needs to get in the rhythm. I get all that. I think Rule did it as an example. If you fumble, I think remember the Titans scene. He's like, don't fumble my football. Right. And I think Rule's like, if you fumble my football, you're not going to play. And he didn't. Do you think he comes back? Because he looked the best. Honestly, as I was watching him, I was like, I got to go back and renege on what I told Andrew in the first episode. And because I said, I think Ramir Johnson is going to lead the team in rushing. I don't think that anymore after the first game. As long as Dowdell doesn't fumble, I think he's going to be your leading rusher. But is he going to play? Do you think he plays this week?
I think he does, and I think Rule said as much in his presser on Monday that no, he'll play, and I think Rule. I thought the same thing too. I thought, fumble, it's over. Like, he's going to miss the whole next game, because they did that with Anthony Grant a little bit last year. But I think what Rule said during camp was, he really said, is there a pattern? And they obviously aren't seeing that in camp. I mean, it was a really good helmet on ball hit, It
was.
So I think there's factors in there. Obviously, the way he played is going to be a factor. Like, Rule is all in on winning this season. If they feel like he gives them the best chance to move the ball, he's going to play. So, and I don't think that's Rule going back on his word. I think it's individual. So,
I just had to get that out there. I was impressed with him.
Yep.
And I want him to have a good year. I don't want him to be in the doghouse. So hold on to the ball, Dante, and get back on the field. Sorry to interrupt. Where were we? You were talking Nebraska doubling up.
We're on to Colorado. You asked my thoughts on Colorado. Yeah. Well, you gave yours too. I think we talked about. What about their offense? What did you see from the offense other than same thing from last year? But
yeah, they got 3 players, right? They got Shadur, they have Hunter, and they have Horn Jr. Yep. It's going to be a challenge. I don't think the goal is obviously to shut out Colorado, right? That's right. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Like, the goal is not to shut them out. The goal is not to limit yards. I think the goal is to limit their opportunities. And this is kind of getting into one of my keys for Nebraska is stay on the field and get off the field. Stay on the field, convert third downs. Nebraska was terrific at third down conversions against UTEP. Can they do it against what I think is probably, I don't know that Colorado's defense is much better than a group of 5 defense. So are they going to be able to do it against a defense that's a little bit better, but it's not Iowa, it's not Michigan, it's not Georgia. So stay on the field and then get off the field. When you get Colorado into 3rd and 2 or 3, shut down their run game. They ran for 53 yards against North Dakota State. So I think that's important. I think if you can limit Colorado to maybe 1 explosive touchdown, maybe they get an 80-yarder. That's fine. That's going to happen.
Yep.
Don't do it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Don't let that swing momentum. Yeah. Don't let them start dancing on the sideline, feeling like feeling like you got control over that place. So
there's a part of me that's like, I want to take the ball first and keep it for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it will frustrate the heck out of Shadur. You keep the ball away from their best player, take the ball. And I don't know if Rule will do that. I know he's a defense first guy, but man, take the ball and run it down their throat for 5 or 6 minutes. That crowd would be nuts by the time Colorado eventually gets the ball.
Yeah.
So
7 sacks last year.
I think it was 8. Wasn't it 8?
I mean, Rule said 10, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay, it was 7 to 10.
They hit Shadur a good 10 to 12 times. And I think that's not only getting pressure, but also there's got to be, I wrote down one of my keys, just coverage sacks. Like we gotta cover Horn and Hunter long enough to get Shadur. He's going to get uncomfortable. He's going to get outside the pocket. But when he gets space and he stops and plants his feet and then just throws a dart, that's when it gets scary. So our defenders have to stay on those receivers. That's probably my biggest, I guess, kind of point that I'm a little more leery on is are they going to stay or are they going to get a step behind Hunter? Is Hartzog going to get burned or beat, somewhat like he did last week on the one play. So
yeah. And he's not like Shadur's not a scrambler. He's not going to run. He scrambles in terms of, getting out of the pocket, making something out of nothing, but he's not going to run. He's not going to beat you with his legs. He might take advantage of it a few times, but the guy wants to throw the ball and he doesn't throw the ball away. We know that. I've been a big critic of his. He holds onto the ball way too long. And if he does that in the NFL, he's going to get killed. It's not going to go well for him. So, but what he's seeing, what he's going to see against Nebraska is an NFL caliber. I mean, people are going to rip me on this. You're seeing an NFL caliber defensive line. I'm not saying Ty and Nash are going to get drafted. I'm just saying you're seeing the size and what I think on the edge is going to be some speed coming off that.
All 3 of those guys will be on a roster. I mean,
you're not going to see these players in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Big 12 doesn't have this kind of a defense. So I would really be shocked if he's not sacked 3, 4, 5 times. I don't think they need to sack him 8 times, but got to hit him, got to pressure him. Now, do you think they're going to blitz a lot?
Oh,
Nebraska.
I do. I think things were, well, it depends. Are they going to be hitting us down, on, the immediate, what's the word?
Kind of the dink and dunks.
Yeah. Middle of the field throws, obviously, then we got to play back a little bit, use a linebacker or two to play some extra coverage. But yeah, I do. I think they called a pretty vanilla game last game. There was, Tony White is creative, and if there's anything that gives me a good feeling about this game, it's you got Tony White on it, and you got John Butler with the secondary. I mean, a guy who has seen plenty of NFL talent up there with Shedeur, up there with Hunter.
Yep.
They're going to create ways to make sure that things are covered. So,
and I do think if you can eliminate, I mean, and you had this in your notes kind of, so I want to hear what your thoughts are, but you take away one of them.
Yeah.
Take away one. Don't let both beat you. Take away one. I think you have a chance. I don't believe Colorado is going to have a run game. I don't know how much Colorado wants to try to have a run game.
Exactly. I mean,
that's going to play into Nebraska's advantage.
They ran for 59 yards.
And what, on 27 rushing attempts, I think, or something like that. It wasn't a lot. They didn't commit to that.
But again, they were 7 of 11 on third down. I mean, that's again, we got to, like you said, get off the field. We got to not let them get 3rd and 3, and then Shedeur hits 10-yard out route to Hunter. So, what
are some of your other keys
to that point? I guess James, I was going to ask you, who do you think we put on? I would say Hunter is. It feels like Hunter's their most dangerous weapon. Now I know Horn, obviously, just more yards than Hunter last game, but. Who do we put? Is it Tommy Hill? Is he the one that assignment falls on? Cover their. It's
got to be. I mean, he's one of the faster guys on the team, if not the fastest. But I trust Buford as well. Like I trust both of them.
Yeah.
And honestly, like this last game against UTEP, you didn't even hear Tommy Hill's name called. I think
he was quiet.
I think UTEP they only threw like 26 passes. So it's funny. They kind of came into the game like, fast pace, going to sling it around. Like you only threw 26 passes, but to your point you made earlier, they only had the ball for 21 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know who they put on him. It's going to be interesting. Are you going to play, kind of man on those guys? With leaving your safeties deep so you don't get beat over the top? Are they going to go, are they just going to drop 7 and 8 every play? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not Tony White. I'm glad I don't need to know. But I could see Tommy Hill being the one following Travis Hunter around all day long and just say, hey, you are on him like white on rice and you don't let him by you. And when he catches the ball, you hit him hard.
Yes.
Because he's also playing on defense, right? And so that's, to Dante Dowdell, Gabe Irvin, when you're, and this is not malicious, so don't hear it this way. I'm not talking about you, but when you're running down the field and Travis Hunter is going to tackle you, you deliver a blow because the guy's playing 120 snaps. You got to make him feel it. So, who knows if he'll be able to last that long against Nebraska? He's going to try. I don't think Colorado can afford to not play him on offense every play.
Right. Yeah. He'll be out there. And I think one thing with these guys, and I was just thinking, I'm like, well, having a non-football or non-on the field factor, but it really is on the field factor, is their ability to get in your head a little bit. Their ability to get on the referee's head, in their head and on their side a little. I mean, you see Sanders on defense playing a little bit dirty in the last game, some late hits,
my gosh,
a lot of yapping, like those type of things. I think can frustrate if we let those things frustrate our own players to where they start overcompensating and getting back calls and all that. That's a huge factor in the game. So I think they've got to really play the mental game too.
Yeah, that's really good. I put a question out on Twitter earlier this week, and I just had Colorado will win if blank. And somebody posted on there, shout out to you. I don't remember what your name is, but they said, if the game becomes something about, if it becomes about something other than football, which is what you're saying, is if it becomes about the refs, if it's trash talk, if it's anything other than football, because I think Nebraska is a better football team. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see that on Saturday. It's reflected in my prediction in terms of the score. But yeah, if you get into that kind of stuff, then,
and it's just discipline. And I think Matt Rule presented that an example of that discipline this week. He didn't answer. He didn't take the bait on the questions from the media and those type of things.
He's so good.
If the team can have that same mindset, don't take the bait when they're yapping on the sideline. Don't take the bait when you get a bad. There's going to be pass interference that is going to infuriate fans. The players can't let that get to them. They got to play that level-headed. Don't let that stuff snowball. Because refs, we know refs will show favoritism too. They'll get annoyed at players complaining, and
they do.
It can spiral on you. So I think that's a key.
Good one. Okay, here's one of my keys. I've already said kind of limit the big plays for Colorado. I talked about staying on the field, get off the field.
Yeah.
The obvious one, win the turnover margin. It's the same every game. And again, I wrote an article about this at the end of the summer before the season and kind of chronicling Nebraska's turnover struggles over the past 20 years.
Mm.
And if you win the turnover margin in a game, you are almost 100% guaranteed to win the game.
Yeah.
Even if it's +1. So win the turnover margin. Last year, I look back at the stats, I look back at the game. Nebraska had 3 turnovers in the first half. They had 2 turnovers in the first quarter. If those things don't happen, the game's a lot closer. Now, Nebraska just couldn't ever generate offense because, I mean, Jeff Sims struggled. Like, let's just be honest. It was not good. I don't see that happening. Doesn't mean Nebraska won't be doesn't mean they'll be turnover free, but win the turnover margin or just be even. And I think, all things equal, Nebraska will win if they have a even turnover margin or they're +1. It'd be great if they were +2, 3. I'm still going to maintain my prediction that Tommy Hill returns a pick for a touchdown in the first quarter. I'm sticking by it. I'm sticking by my guns. I think
you got to be right this week, please.
I want to be right. I wanted you to be right with the safety. We got it. So I want to see Hill pick off a pass intended for Travis Hunter, return it for a touchdown. So win the turnover margin. And then the other one really quick, just finish drives. I think Nebraska is going to move the ball. I don't think any of us wonder if Nebraska is going to be able to move the ball. All the talk is, are you going to be able to stop Colorado? So when you get inside the 40-yard line, you have to convert, and you have to convert touchdowns because it's going to take touchdowns to win this game. I love our size from the receiving core. I love our backs. I think our line, I think we didn't even talk about the offensive line run blocking. It was beautiful. It was lovely. The under center I formation, it was all glorious.
Sealing the edges. Yeah. It was
right. So I'm confident we're going to score when we get inside the 15, 10, 5-yard line. We just have so many options. So do it. Get to the 40-yard line and then push, get that ball in the end zone. I think they'll do that. I think those are the keys. If they don't do that, it's going to be a tough day to win the game. But I think they will. So
James, I'm curious what your thoughts on, not to go back to the last game, but I am doing it anyway. Going forward on 4th and 5, like is that confidence in Raiola? And you said finishing drives, so that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like you get down to borderline field goal range. What's too long to go for it versus try
we
that.
picked that up, right?
Yeah. So no, we were 0 for 2.
We were 0 for 2.
Yep.
Well, if I remember correct, we weren't it wasn't field goal range. My mind's a little blurry right now.
No, yeah, one, and I wonder when you're playing field position game, is that a big factor in this one because they can hit you so quickly and get downfield so quickly? Like, are we going to see Rule go for it more on 4th? But I was
not prepared for that question. Here's my thought, thinking back to that game, because I think every game's its own context, right? I think they knew UTEP is not going to score.
Sure.
So let's go for it.
Yeah.
They probably have, like every coach, here's our set of plays that we're running on 4th, and we're not going to get a lot of chance to work on them. So let's do it. Let's work on them today. And I think maybe it's a lot more complicated than that, but I also think they knew, hey, we're going to get the ball again. we're going to score. I'd have to look back though and see, okay, what was the situation? What was the score? Where were they at in the field? I know it was right around midfield or the plus side, but I don't know if anybody asked Rule that this week, but I think, hey, UTEP is not going to outscore you. So
I love going for it. I love going for it. And I Rule did that a lot last year. I was a little surprised to see they were like fourth and 5, 4th and 6. And both were complete passes. One was to Fedoni, and they kept running that little, pass out.
Okay, now it's clicking. We need to talk about that play.
Yeah.
They ran that play multiple times.
Yes. That doesn't seem like the best use of Thomas Fedoni, but what do I know? I don't want to be critical. I actually really like Satterfield's offense. I had no complaints from Saturday. So if you're listening, you're thinking, okay, here James is going to go full negative, scorched earth. No, but that one play, and they ran it 2 or 3 times. I don't think they gained a yard anytime they ran it. Fedoni's 6'6". Get him out. Yeah. Get him out vertical. He's not a lateral guy. If you want to run that play, run it to Barney, run it to Banks. Right. You got to have
run
a guy
it to Ramir.
Quick
but
first
don't
step
run it to Fedoni.
Guy missed. Yeah. And your big old tight end's not going to have that quick first step to Jalen Lloyd maybe run it. But I will say the first one, going back and looking, Nair and Banks were on that side.
They missed their blocks.
They completely whiffed on the blocks, or the defenders made good move around.
And that's a part of it. We would be calling that play. We would be calling Satterfield a genius for that play if they had picked up their blocks and Fedoni runs for 12 yards on whatever 4th and 1 or 3rd and 2 or whatever it was. So, regardless, I'll still say I don't like that play to him. I want to see him run vertical, and he's such a big target. Find a spot in the zone, find the cushion, and settle there, and give Dylan a big target and pick up first downs. But let's stop with the lateral side. So to me, if that becomes the Scott Frost bubble pass, like that's what I don't want this play to become. Don't become the Scott Frost bubble pass. So,
however, come to think of it, I do feel like you see a certain Kansas City Chiefs duo run that play quite a bit.
Yeah, you do. You do.
You got to wonder. Yeah,
you do. All right, let's get to our predictions and close it out here. You want to talk favorite Colorado, Nebraska memory quick?
Yeah. I mean, I think the obvious one, I think we probably share it because we're in school at that time, right?
I was out. I graduated, but I don't know if you were still in, but you're talking about 2008.
Yep. Yeah. And to me, that it's not the game-winning kick. It's Sue. Sue just sort of encapsulate, the whole season into that play, just interception and then running over the quarterback. Was it Hawkins?
Yeah, it was Hawkins' son. So, that was the last time we played a father-son combo.
Yeah.
At Memorial Stadium. That really set up Sue for the next year, right? With his hopeful Heisman run came up short, but it set him up for, this guy means business and takes no prisoners. And so I think I still wonder, was the stadium louder when that play happened versus the kick? When the kick happened, for me, that was my favorite moment. I loved Sue's pick and the stomp, but the kick to me was so improbable. It was 57 yards.
Yeah. And
I'm in the other end zone. I'm in the 98th row in the south end zone. And I'm pretty sure I body surfed after that play. I was hugging people, right? You're always hugging people you don't know. Yeah. I loved the kick because of how improbable it seemed. We just didn't believe he could make it.
Yeah.
And he did. And the rest is history. So really, Sue can thank Henry, because without the kick,
then that
pick doesn't happen, right?
That closeout pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colorado, obviously both of us being born and raised Nebraska, the memories are there. I unfortunately remember too many of the heartbreaks. I remember, them putting up 66 on us.
Yeah, 62, but
62, but also remembers Restore the Order. I remember driving to Lincoln on Black Friday for games, cloudy and dark and on ABC, and yeah, just good vibes all the way around with that. I never got to go to Boulder and get urine thrown on me, so
Never have. I've seen the stadium from the outside. It's beautiful, beautiful setting. Never care to go to a game there. We didn't really talk about the crowd. I think it's going to be chaotic. I'm not going. Obviously, Andrew's not, being in Washington, but it's going to be one of those nights where you wish you were there. And probably in 20 years, there's going to be a lot of people who say they were there who weren't. It's going to feel like you were there, hopefully, if we win. I think it's going to be an edge for Nebraska. I really do. Colorado they've never played in an environment like this.
Yeah.
And I don't even think Oregon last year will be comparable. Like, Oregon isn't one of your rivals. Oregon doesn't care about you. I think it's going to be a wake-up call for sure.
You got to see a lot of this. I mean, and it really is, like you said, it's a key to the game. Can Shedeur hear the play coming in? Does he need to? I mean,
dare I say,
have ways to work around it, but
dare I say, Benedict Alberts, this is our 12th man.
It's 12th man this game.
It's our 12th man.
Rule said go be Nebraska nice on Sunday,
but not Saturday.
Not Saturday. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I like your question here in our notes. Who has more to gain or more to lose?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I think when I thought of the question, it can obviously be presented several ways, but my thought was just us. Do we have more to gain or do we have more to lose? Would a win carry us, project us into something greater than a loss would do for us? And I think it's the win. I think the win does a lot more for us. A loss is obviously going to hurt. It's going to sting. We're going to be pissed off, whatever, for days. But here comes an easy squad again, and we can get back on the winning, but.
Well, I think there's a couple ways to look at it. There's the teams in the team sense, but there's also for the fans.
Yeah.
I think fans will be devastated if we lose the game. I don't think the team will be, because it's not the Big Ten. And I think players and coaches I think they legit have a different focus. I think fans, it would hurt more to lose. But I really think for the team that winning this game will propel this program so much.
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't think they're going to lose. So let's do predictions. What do you think is going to happen?
So I was thinking this. I saw your prediction. I'm going to go 45. I think our offense. I mean,
wow.
I'm trusting Raiola. It's Raiola. I think that was confirmed now. Not
it's
Raiola.
Rye like bread.
45. But I'm giving Colorado some cred. They're going to put up some points. I say 34. So 45.
45 points.
45.
Okay.
34.
Barn burner.
It is. I think you're going to see a little bit of a Big 12 from 2013.
Little Joe Gans.
Yeah.
Didn't we beat Kansas State once, like 65-51 with Joe Gans? That's for some reason in my brain.
Put up some points.
Okay, 45-34. Okay, so I have 38-24 Nebraska. So 2 touchdowns. I don't think it's going to feel particularly close. I could see a couple different scenarios. I could see Nebraska actually getting up like 21-0 in the first quarter. Just because it'll be emotionally overwhelming for Colorado. And I know Shedeur's experienced. I get all that. But I don't trust the rest of the team outside of Hunter, right? So I could see that scenario. I could also see where it's a little tight, a little shaky for a while, but I do think Nebraska's offense is going to be able to move the ball pretty easily. And I trust our defense. I trust Tony White. In Tony, we trust. I think he's going to dial up some things that Colorado has not seen. And it's going to be a good night for Husker Nation. So 38-24.
I think physicality. I think we're going to be a little bit warm in the stadium. You got guys running track out there. So I see us as the deeper team. I see us as the more cohesive team.
Yep.
I think, like you said, the mentality of, everyone has just adopted the what's next mentality. And so I think if adversity comes, I see us a big step in the right direction as far as just putting that behind us and moving on. So
great. Any strangely specific predictions?
That's what I was gonna say. So I got to think of one now that I've had success. I got to keep this up. I think not punt return. I think a punt and block happens. We had one that was close against UTEP, and I think they're going to draw something up at a key moment.
I love it
to get a block. So
I love it. Well, I'm going to keep mine. Hill returns a pick for a touchdown in the first quarter.
Yep.
It's one of the touchdowns in that 21-point onslaught that I'm gonna. Maybe that's my other strangely specific prediction. We go up 21-0 in the first quarter. Could you imagine if that happened? Now, I actually hope that happens because I think that would actually be a little bit of reverse adversity, the pressure to keep the foot on the gas. Nebraska hasn't done that. Nebraska's had games where they're up 14-0. I think they were up 14-0 against Wisconsin at the end of last year, and they end up losing that game, right? They were up 17-0 against Colorado a few years back when they played in Boulder. It's hard to maintain that momentum for the rest of the game. So I would love it, but I think a lot of fans might go, "Ooh, like you're going to be able to keep this up?"
Yeah.
So,
hey, I got one more. It's not oddly specific, but I will say we're going to see a little chippiness in this game. I think there's guys a little hurt from last year, even though Rule has played it, PC close to the vest. He wants this. The players want this. And we know Dion doesn't mind fighting. He encourages his players to do it in practice. So I was at the Miami game in 14, right behind the goalposts when Randy Gregory and was a Feliciano, I think. The Miami linemen were going after it. So I could see a moment in this game where things get a little heated, probably some offsetting personal fouls.
Now, do you think Colorado will stand on the end before the game?
I think there's a prayer on it.
I think there's 100% chance they do.
Yeah,
100%.
We're going to see the watch and all that. I mean,
it's going to be terrible, and it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to be beautiful because Nebraska is going to vanquish the Buffaloes, which are really bison. They have a wrong named mascot, and that is the biggest trash talking I'll do. I'll keep it PG. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. You can find us on characterchronicles.com, YouTube, of course, Apple and Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like and subscribe and spread the word. Andrew, good to see you, man.
See ya. Enjoy your college football week. Football tomorrow.
All right. Let's do it. Go Big Red.
Go Big Red.